Good day, everyone. Before we discuss our topic, I would like to introduce first our group. So we are the Goodness of Law of Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, major in Financial Management. We are here to present and discuss social ethics. So first, what is social ethics? Social ethics is the systematic reflection on the moral dimensions of social structures, systems, issues, and communities. Social ethics can be taught as a branch of applied ethics, the application of ethical reasoning to social problems such as abortion, distribution of economic goods, euthanasia, crime, war, and peace. Social ethics is focused on social, political, and economic issues that we find in our social world. Social ethics is different from personal ethics because it is not primarily focused on the moral character of an individual. Rather, social ethics is focused on institutions, groups, and even nations as they face moral issues. So next, what makes something good or bad, right or wrong? One answer for this question comes from the work of German philosopher Immanuel Kant, who is known for his ethical theory called deontology. According to his theory, the rightness and wrongness of actions does not depend on their consequences, but on whether they fulfill the duties. In Immanuel Kant's philosophy, we are bound by a universal law, a set of duties that are entirely rational and don't allow for any exemption. So next, what is deontology? Deontology is an ethical theory that uses rules to distinguish what is right and what is wrong. It comes from the Greek word deon, which means duty or obligation. In short, the actions are either good or bad, right or wrong, based on whether they are consistent with moral duties. Deontology is simple to apply. You just need to follow the rules and do your duty. For example, every person of the particular religion has to follow the rules and regulation of his religion. If you are Hindu, you might believe that it's wrong to eat beef. This rule would be part of our deontology because we think it is wrong to eat beef. Another example is promise. If you have made a promise, you must keep it. For example, you might borrow money and promise to pay it back, but you don't intend to pay it back. So, breaking promise is considered wrong because we are obliged to keep our promise. Following the rules makes deontology easy to apply, but this also means disregarding the possible consequences of our actions when determining right or wrong.
Classification of social ethics is classified as deontology. Deontology defined as an ethical theory in which a person adheres to his or her obligations and duties because it is considered by the society as ethically correct. Why deontology? Deontology can be associated with social ethics because social ethics is a set of rules or guidelines based around ethical choices and values that the society conforms to. Through social ethics, people will be guided on how they should treat the other members of the society. Aside from this, a person will know his or her boundaries, and if this will be practiced diligently, we can have a balanced and just society. Deontology is easy to apply in real-life situations. We just have to follow rules that will not give rise to conflicts, and thus, we need to apply reasoning. Moreover, this theory uses common sense and natural intuition to weigh if an action is right or wrong. As humans, we have the capacity to meditate or ponder about things. We are not driven by our instincts, but rather, we always have reasons for everything. Another good thing about this theory is that because people have inherent dignity, it prevents us from doing things that will ruin our reputation and will hurt other people. Unlike consequentialism, deontology focuses on the action itself rather than its possible consequences. Knowing the unpredictability of life, we cannot control the result of an action, so it's easier to live by deontology as it gives emphasis to our intention in which we can fully control.
Proponent of social ethics. Aristotle's principle work on ethics, the Nicomachean ethics. Nicomachean ethics was dedicated to his father or son, both from whom were named Nicomacheus. The Nicomachean ethics is the Aristotelian most important study of personal morality. In ethics, Aristotle laid out the essence of virtue theory. He stated that if we truly desire people to be ethical, then we must have practiced ethics from an early age. Yes, it is very important to practice ethics from an early age because practice is the best means by which people to create ethical humans. Aristotle also speaks of eudaimonia, a perfect balance of happiness and goodness interpreted classically. Humans experience eudaimonia both in themselves and in the world when they act virtuously and live a life of rational thought and contemplation. For example, if you are a parent, you should excel at raising children. Another one, if you are a doctor, you should excel at healing people. Of course, each person plays many roles in life, and it's by excelling in all of them, and that's one achieves eudaimonia. Immanuel Kant. Kant's theory is an example of the ontological moral theory. According to these theories, the rightness or wrongness of actions does not depend on their consequences, but on whether they fulfill our duty. An act that is not good morally can lead to something good, such as shooting the intruder. Killing is wrong. To protect your family, protecting is right. In our example, that means protecting your family is the rational things to do, even if it is not the morally best things to do. Kant believed that there was a supreme principle of morality, and he referred to it as the categorical imperative. This intimidating phrase is just a fancy way of saying that some action must always be taken, and certain standards always upheld, such as telling the truth. John Rawls, he labeled his ethics to be justice as fairness. Rawls proposes the following two principles of justice: to govern the distribution of liberties and the distribution of opportunities. He believes that humans would resolve the conflicts or problem in such a way that whoever was worse off would be not as bad off. Opponent of social ethics. John Stuart Mill refined the political application of utilitarianism, and in so doing laid the foundation for the political movement of libertarianism. So why John Stuart Mill, opponent in social ethics? Because utilitarianism differs from ethical theories that make the rightness or wrongness of an action dependent upon the motive of the agent. Most opponents of utilitarianism have held that it has implications contrary to their moral institutions.
Criticisms of the theory. Social ethics is a systematic reflection on the moral dimension of social structures, systems, issues, and communities. Social ethics can be thought of as a branch of applied ethics, the application of ethical reasoning to social problems. So these are the philosophers who critique the social ethics. Karl Marx. Marxist ethics is a doctrine of morality and ethics that is based on or derived from Marxist philosophy. Marxism-Leninism holds that morality, like other forms of ideology, is of a class character and is manifested in people's behavior in different ways in different historical conditions in accordance with the interests of what classes or social strata a person occupies. Aristotle. Aristotle conceived of ethical theory as a field distinction from the theoretical sciences. Aristotle follows Socrates and Plato in taking the virtue to be central to well-lived life. Like Plato, he regards the ethical virtues justice, courage, temperance, and so on as complex, rational, emotional, and social happiness. Immanuel Kant. Kant held that every rational being had both an innate right to freedom and a duty to enter into a civil condition governed by a social contract in order to realize and preserve that freedom. His writings on political philosophy consist of one book and several shorter works. John Stuart Mill. The ethical theory of John Stuart Mill, 1806 to 1873, is most extensively articulated in his classical text Utilitarianism in 1861. Its goal is to justify the utilitarian principle as the foundation of morals. This principle says actions are right in proportion as they tend to promote overall human resources.
Benefits of deontology. Recall that deontology is a universal theory that considers whether an action itself is right or wrong. It is solely based on the action itself, whether it is right or wrong to do so, and does not consider the result or consequences of an action. Here are some advantages and benefits of deontology. First, fairness, consistency, and morally equal. Second, emphasizes the law of non-contradiction. Third, emphasizes doing what is morally right. Fourth, universally binding and impartial in order for an action to be morally permissible. And lastly, it emphasizes on the value of every human equally.
Human sexuality. First, let us talk about the definition of human sexuality. Human sexuality is the way people experience and express themselves sexually. This involves biological, erotic, physical, emotional, social, or spiritual feelings and behaviors. According to Rathos et al. 1993, human sexuality is the way in which we experience and express ourselves as sexual beings. There are many factors that help develop our sexuality. Arguably, one of the most important is our actual gender. Whether I am a male or female will likely have a major influence on the development of my individual sexuality. Furthermore, sexuality is an integral part of our personalities, whether we are aware of it or not. Deontology is an ethical theory that uses rules to distinguish right from wrong. We will apply this theory to human sexuality. We can and often do evaluate sexual activity morally. We inquire whether a sexual act is morally good or morally bad, either a particular occurrence of sexual act that we are doing or want to do right now, or any type of sexual act. More specifically, we evaluate or judge sexual acts to be morally obligatory, morally permissible, morally supererogatory, or morally wrong. For example, a spouse might have moral obligations to engage in sex with the other spouse. It might be morally permissible for married couples to employ contraception while engaging in coitus. One person's agreeing to have sexual relations with another person when the former has no sexual desire of his or her own but does want to please the latter might be an act of supererogation. If a specific type of sexual act is morally wrong, then every instance of that type of act is morally wrong. However, from the fact that the particular sexual act that is being done is morally wrong, it does not follow that any specific type of act is morally wrong. The sexual act that we are contemplating might be wrong for lots of different reasons, having nothing to do with the sexual type of act that it is. For example, suppose a married man is engaging in coitus or any specific type of sexual act with another woman aside from his wife, and that this particular act is wrong because it is adulterous. The wrongfulness of the sexual activity does not imply that coitus in general, as a type of sexual act, is morally wrong. In some cases, of course, A particular sexual act will be wrong for several reasons. Not only it is wrong because it is of a specific type, say it is an instance a fellatio, but it is also wrong because at least one of the participants is married to someone else. It is wrong also because it is adulterous.
Application of theory deontology to the issues of lying, cheating, breaking promises, and stealing. So the ethical theory that we use is deontology. Deontology is a theory that suggests actions are good or bad according to a clear set of rules. Its name comes from the Greek word deon, meaning duty. Actions that obey these rules are ethical, while actions that do not are not. Is lying, cheating, breaking promises, and stealing moral or immoral? Lying, cheating, breaking promises, and stealing are generally considered to be immoral. But they've read an argument about these issues saying that what if lying, cheating, breaking promises can save somebody's life? Could that be considered a moral act? Even though it can save somebody's life, the philosopher Immanuel Kant claimed that lying was always immoral because it is manipulative and disrespects the natural rights of others to make their own decisions. So this can also be applied to cheating, breaking promises, and stealing. Because in this theory, the ontology, it is more concerned with what people will do and not with the consequences of their actions. For example, do the right thing. Do it because it is the right thing to do. And don't do wrong things. Avoid them because they are wrong. So that's it for the application of the theory of the ontology to these issues lying, cheating, breaking promises, and stealing. And let me leave this golden rule to you guys. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Matthew 7 verse 12. So this simply means that treat others as how you want to be treated.
Abortion. The word abortion comes from the Latin word abortio, which means to abort, miscarry, deliver prematurely. The Latin word abortus means miscarriage, premature, untimely birth. In medicine, abortion means ending a pregnancy prematurely. An abortion is when the pregnancy is ended so it does not result in the born of a child. So sometimes this is called the termination of pregnancy. Abortion actually involves the intentional killing of a fetus to end a pregnancy. These fetuses are human. Biologically, it seems that fetuses are beings, although completely dependent beings. So abortion involves the killing of a being that is biologically human. So killing human beings is often deeply wrong. So is abortion wrong? So here are the legal arguments about abortion. The first one is human organism. Fetuses are not just biologically alive like cells or organs. They are lives. Each is a human life. Some argue that this is because they are organisms, while heart are parts of beings. The beings is the whole organism. Fetuses seems to be beings. On this definition, they are complex and developing. So it was wrong to kill us now. We have properties that make it wrong to kill us now. It was wrong to kill us at any stage of our development since we've been the same organism, the same being throughout our existence. So the second one is human person. Is the reason why it is wrong to kill us because we are human beings? So perhaps not. It is wrong to kill us arguably because killing us prevents us from experiencing the goods of our future. Our accomplishment, relationships, enjoying our lives and so on, which is distinct from being a human being. So the next is potential parenthood. But just because something or someone is not a person, that doesn't obviously mean that this is not wrong to kill them. Fetuses are not person, but they are still potential person. So if potential things have the right of actual things, then potential adults, spouses, criminals, doctors, and judges would have the rights of actual ones. So here are the reasons for giving an abortion. So the first one is concern for responsibility to other individual. The second one is young or unmarried. The third one is relationship problems. The fourth one is mother's health risk. Pregnancy is the result of crime, and the last one is unacceptable quality of life. So, ethicists classify and according to deontological ethics theories. For instance, if one's intention in seeking an abortion represents a desire to avoid to one's duty offspring or a failure to respect human life, the deontologists would likely disapprove of abortion. So on the other hand, with the issue of abortion, for example, we would simply determine its morality by consulting our normative principle of choice, such as act of utilitarianism. If a given abortion produces greater benefit than this benefit, then according to act of utilitarianism, it would be morally acceptable to have the abortion. So let's move on to our arguments for and against abortion. So for arguments for and against abortion, we have pro-life arguments. So pro-life arguments, this is defined as the responsibility or the obligation of the government to preserve all human life regardless of intent, viability, or quality of life concern. So under pro-life, regular people have the right to live. The fetus is a distinct human from the moment of conception. So unless the woman's life is in danger, a woman have the duty not to kill their unborn babies. So murder should be illegal in a moral society. So while the counterpart of pro-life is pro-choice. So pro-choice argument is defined as the belief that women have the rights to choose to abort the baby. So under pro-choice, regular people have the right to their bodies as long as they do not hurt others. The fetus is not a human until born. Women do not have the duty to be pregnant against their will, and they will change their minds. And they can change their minds. Therefore, women have the right to choose to end their pregnancy. So as a summary, pro-life position which underlines the abortion is morally wrong because it is simply murder. On the other hand, the pro-choice position emphasizes that abortion is optional for women. Because these two extreme positions, there is a middle ground which advocates that abortion can be morally justified in some cases. So, even though abortion is legal in almost all countries to save a woman's life, but it is not always safe. Even if abortion were made easy or painless for everyone, it wouldn't change the bottom line problem that abortion kills children. And as a conclusion, abortion is not legal or illegal. It is sometimes ethical and also unethical.
Evaluation of social ethics. Social ethics is concerned with what is morally correct for a society to do and how they should act rationally as a whole. It also focuses on what proper human behavior is considered as a whole. In today's world, social problems such as racial discrimination and using drugs for fun are happening as if it is a normal habit. So right now, it is essential to practice social ethics or doing what we know that is morally correct in order for us to live peacefully, happily, and without any regret. It is not easy to deal with this kind of problems, but if we start to open up our minds and start to do what we know that is morally right, we can overcome this, and also we can help other people who are struggling every day because of these problems. We can overcome this by starting to change our perspective and mindset, because disciplining ourselves is the only key to beat this kind of problems. And after that, let's just trust God's process because He is the only one who can help us.
Evaluation about normative theory and deontology, which is deontology, is under normative theory. So, normative theory is the study of the things that make your action right or wrong. The golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have them to do unto you, is the classic example of normative theory that establish a single principle against which we judge all actions. Other normative theories focus on a set of foundational principles or a set of good character traits. So, the key assumption in normative theory is there is only one ultimate criterion of a moral conduct, whether it is a single rule or a set of principles.
So next is deontology. Deontology is a normative ethical theory that the morality of an action should be based on whether that action itself is right or wrong, under a series of rules, rather than based on the consequence of the action. So, deontology is a theory that suggests actions are good or bad based or according to a clear set of rules. So, in addition, deontological ethics hold that at least some acts are morally obligatory regardless of their consequence for human welfare. So, for me, deontology is using a set of rules to distinguish whether your action is right or wrong. So, actions that obey these rules is ethical, while actions that do not obey this rule is not ethical. So, in overall, normative is study of what makes your action right or wrong. Under this theory is deontology, where action is determined if it is right or wrong using clear set of rules.
You knew a pregnant woman who has already 6 children with disabilities, 3 deaf, 2 blind, and 1 he is mentally disordered. Would you recommend abortion to her? In the Philippines, abortion is a crime, sin, and wrong because abortion is already a killing, but in the US, abortion is legal. In the Catholic, abortion is immoral evil. Abortion is an immoral act. Based from Immanuel Kant theory, deontology is the rightness or wrongness depend on duties, not on consequences. So why would you recommend to her the abortion if abortion is moral evil? We are written in the Bibles that killing is a sin. Can't believe that moral should always be followed, never broken. Question number 2. If ever you are working on a big company and that a new head employee for 6 months got promoted, while you who are 2 years in service is still on the same position, would you take this as a chance to be promoted to knowing that your boss has a feelings for you? Yes, but I will make an action after that new hired employee for 6 months have been promoted first than me, who has been in the job for 2 years instead, and not take advantage of my boss' feelings for me. I work hard and I earn money and not take advantage of anything just to achieve a certain desire. I can just ask the company why the new employee get promoted first than me but never take a promotion out of someone's feelings and weaknesses. As long as the company got into a right procedures and decisions, go for it. Question number 3. You have a chance to vote to elect new president in our country. There is 2 candidates for president. Candidate number 1, he worked as a mayor for the past 5 years. His characteristics are suits in the position for president, but there is only one thing that the public doesn't like about him. He is a past drug addict. Candidate number 2, his character is suits for position for a president because public wants him for being a humble, integrity, accountable, responsible, and has a heart for nations because he is a graduated as economist and lawyer, but he has no enough experience on a public service, especially in political industry. Who would you pick? Maybe candidate number 2 is my choice because first, he has a heart for nations. Trying new give chance to him. I believe person who are capable to hold nations is that having a heart for nations. It's not bad to try a new one for the better. Let's look for the brighter side. And his characteristics are suitable for president, so let's support the new one. Because candidate 1 has a past, which is drug addiction, and here in country, drugs are illegal. Maybe one day he will go back again for being drug addict, and that's not good for the country if he will be our next president. Question number 4. Nona, who as INC has the belief that voting in politics is not allowed, but she really needs some money for the operation of her child, which had a cancer, and she know that the only way for her to get some money is to ask help from the government. Does the INC group will give Nona the chance to ask for government help? Yes, if that's her only way, then INC group should give her a chance to ask help in government because her child needs money for operations to live longer. Considering one's life is the most important. Let's realize that asking a help for a valid reasons is not wrong. INC group must accept that these kinds of circumstances are really existing, so try to understand the situation. I believe in a saying that no mothers will endure to see their child from suffering, sick, or etc. Question number 5. Maria opened her start-up coffee shop business and she needs to hire another service crew. While looking for a new employee, there is 2 applicants at the same time. Both are fully equipped, but the other employee got his left eye blind. If you are Maria, would you give them both a chance to be qualified? Yes, by giving them a chance to work. Persons with disability inspired me to sense today. Both of them are qualified as a service crew for my new startup business because in the Republic Act 10524 entitled An Act Expanding the Positions Reserved for Persons with Disability state that PWD has a right to work. I believe both of them has a own abilities, strengths, and rights to work no matter what they are and who they are. Every one of us has a rights.